Hello lovely people, so I'm back. I know that I was hoping to be back a bit sooner than this, but this is one of those situations where you've just got to, roll with the punches. It is Wednesday, the 20th of February today, and today is 7 days after my full hysterectomy. And I know I said in the last video that I wanted to be able to hopefully try and get some day 1, day 2, day 3 footage for you in the hospital. And again, it's just another one of those things that you've got to take each day as it comes. I got 25 seconds of footage. I'll put that in as we get there. But I suppose potentially I could have filmed more in the hospital, but I was on a ward with 4 other ladies and I didn't want to be the crazy woman in the corner with a camera. And that's kind of the truth behind it. I think if there'd have been a bit more quiet 5 minutes, I potentially would have filmed a bit more. But I was lucky enough to have another lady on the ward with me who was my age, and we're kind of going through the same kind of stuff together. And it was much more important to kind of be in the moment and communicate and be with her and learn from each other. So filming went by the by, and that's fine. So day 7. So a week ago today I was, where are we? It must be about, I'm filming, it's about 2 o'clock-ish now, coming up 2 o'clock-ish. So I'd have been just coming out of recovery now and being sent back up onto the ward. And it is a roller coaster. So what can I tell you? I had a full bilateral hysterectomy. I know there was maybe some hope beforehand that I was going to be able to have it laparoscopically. That was not the case. So I have a vertical up and down scar, a big one, and I was down. I think I was under for about 4 hours, I want to say, and I was down into surgery by sort of 9:30-ish. Everything was already done. So let's just talk about the basics, because there is lots and lots of information out there on the internet and on YouTube about the actuality even of the surgery, and I'm not going to go there. And I'm not going to go there because of my own opinion. I didn't want to know going in exactly what was going to be done. I'm a stickler for information. I love to have information and knowledge before I do things, but when it comes round to kind of big style surgery like this that was absolutely unavoidable, I kind of, maybe you could call it taking the coward's way out, but I didn't want to know. I will do now that it's done, but beforehand I just didn't want to have it to think about. So if you want the nuts and bolts of a hysterectomy, that's not what this one is today. This is the kind of information video for women that are going in for this surgery, that are wondering what it's like the first few days out of the gate. So what can I tell you? I got to the hospital at 7 a.m. with my husband, and this is how my surgery worked. This is how my hospital works. So take as much information from it as you can, and obviously know that it's interchangeable, I suppose. We had to check in at the day surgery unit, and they kind of took me at the door, and my husband wasn't allowed through after that point. So all the getting changed and the on the day chat with the surgeon and the on the day chat with the anaesthesiologist, those were things that I had to do on my own, that you do on your own. Chatting with the surgeon was great. He ran through things that we'd already run through before, but I think it was just his way of kind of keeping me calm, really. I had a good chat with my anaesthesiologist separately. He seemed to have, sorry about that, it's the door. He seemed to have lots of questions and things that they run through as well first, and there's lots of forms to sign and lots of bits and pieces to do, and from the minute that you're sort of on the way down to surgery, you don't have a minute to think, which is great. I keep my mind nice and busy, and it was, you know, Joe come here, Joe come there, Joe sit, Joe move this one down the hall, that one down the hall. So yeah, not having to kind of sit around and let my brain churn is great. Anaesthetic, what can I say? So I am really sensitive to loads of medication. It just tends to hit me. It tends to hit me sideways. I'm a cheap date, what can I tell you? But based on this, my anaesthesiologist didn't really want to send me back up onto the ward. They give you or my hospital gives you like a morphine codeine liquid solution in the patient administered pain relief, which is that goes in through the hand, and the word has totally escaped me, but you all know what I mean. And because of how badly I've reacted in the past to morphine when I had my cesarean with my girls, it's in my notes, and they kind of didn't want to give it to me, which is fine. There is a spinal in place, or there was for the way this surgery was done, as well as general anaesthetic. And what I can say is, when I was moved back up onto the ward from recovery at about 2 o'clock, by 3:30, 4-ish, the spinal and everything was all wearing off. And at that point, I had a small amount of pain relief kind of going directly to the scar, incision and muscle tissue in the stomach, but nothing else. And as the spinal wore off, the roller coaster to pain was not fun. So do discuss this at length with your anaesthesiologist. In most cases, like 95% of the cases, you will get this patient, like it's self-administered pain relief basically, and you get a little beeper in your hand, and you can't overdose on it or anything like that. But whenever you kind of feel intense pain, you press your little beeper and it releases a little bit of the liquid, like Oromorph, the liquid morphine codeine, and it releases it into the system, and it slowly builds up until you are pain-free. So if you are remotely sensitive to pain relief or drugs in any way when you're going into something like this, definitely do discuss it with your anaesthesiologist, because the main reason they didn't want me to have it is because they didn't want me to be sick, which is normally kind of what happens when the drugs kick in. And they couldn't risk that with all the surgery, because you can rupture and tear things, and no one wants that. However, by 5 o'clock, the pain was so bad that they put self-pain in anyway. They didn't put the morphine in. It was fentanyl, I think that's how you say it, that they used for me instead. And I must admit, I have no idea how bad things would have got if that wasn't the case. Let's just say that. So do discuss pain relief with your anaesthesiologist. I can tell you that the little friend that I made on the ward, a lady the same age as me, she was across from me at the bottom of my bed. She had all the pain relief, the morphine solution, and she felt no pain. So she was... Sorry about that, it's the ghost trying to let itself in. I'm just going to sort that out. Sorry about that, I'm back. So she felt no pain. So do discuss pain relief. That was one of the little issues that I had. As far as issues go, that was really the only one. The surgery went through as expected, and I came up onto the ward, and after a sort of a pretty rough 45 minutes trying to get the pain relief sorted, once that was done, I felt no pain after that. and then it was just about sitting, really, kind of in the hospital beds in that half sit, half lay. The spinal was really wearing off at that point. It kind of, for those of you that have had babies or had spinals before, the feeling kind of, it drops back in slowly from kind of like the hips down, and then suddenly you can feel your thighs, and then you can feel your knees, and then you can feel your ankles, but your feet seem to be the last thing, and you're like, are they there? So that's, it's just one of those things, isn't it? So the day of the surgery was always going to be a suck it and see situation. And then the way the hospital work it, the way the nurses talk to you, is that they don't count the day of surgery as day one. They count the next day as day one. So I had my surgery on Wednesday last week, so that was surgery day. So day one was Thursday. So day one is the big day. Day one is when they take your catheter out. Day one is when they get you up. And day one is when you take that first kind of walk across the ward and find out if everything, if everything's all still there and working as it's supposed to. So day one is tiring and exciting and frightening because so much has gone on, and suddenly, they're kind of moving blankets around you, and you've got to get up. I was kind of, I've only ever had a catheter once before, and that was when I had my cesarean with my girls, and they put it in when you're asleep, so you don't really know the goings of it, and it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant is the wrong word. It's just not. I don't know. I think psychosomatically it's not pleasant. You don't feel a thing. So basically, they're trying to make sure that all that is working properly. Your bladder and all that kind of thing is working properly. So you do kind of day one is tiring. Day two for me, Friday, you don't realise it, but that is the day when the nurses are watching you. You don't know it, but they've watched to see if you've got up through the night. They've watched to see how you're walking across the ward, if you're getting out of bed, and they are kind of clocking. And for me, by lunchtime, the doctor had come round and had a bit of a sort of a prod about at the scar and basically said, do you want to go home? So from 7 a.m. on the Wednesday to lunchtime on the Friday, that was my in-hospital time. They were happy with the way everything was progressing, and at between 4 and 5 on Friday late afternoon, I was allowed to come home. And when you come home, that's when the fun really kind of begins, because I was kind of sat in the hospital in that nice little lean-to bed, and I was kind of thinking where I was going to sit when I come home, and I'm like, well, I'm never going to kind of get down into like a dining room chair or anything. I'm never going to be able to get back up again. And I was kind of walking myself through all the furniture in my house, trying to work out which is going to be the most comfortable one for me to try and sit in. And what I had done the week before I'd gone into hospital is I'd gone out and bought extra pillows, bed pillows. So I had like 7 altogether spare, knowing that I was going to be able to kind of prop myself up at different places. So there's that. And sleeping is hard because I couldn't and still can't comfortably lay on my side, on either side. So you are kind of sleeping sort of partially propped up on your back. It's really good to make sure you've got a spare pillow or a bolster cushion or something like that to go under your knees, because to be sort of perfectly flat and straight is very uncomfortable, and it pulls all those muscles. And it's so important that you work with what your body is telling you. I can't stress enough that this is the time when you've got to listen to your body. And I think once I come home on the Friday, 48 hours later, I was deliberately kind of letting the pain relief go that little bit longer, because I was sent home with sort of basically just take paracetamol and ibuprofen. I'll get on to the rest of what I was sent home with in a minute, but I also have got a couple of kind of nerve issues that are unrelated but caused by the whole process, if that makes sense. So I had a mass on my right ovary, and the weight of the mass was giving some jip to a nerve somewhere that was running vertically down into my leg and was just basically giving me a hard time. And I had kind of hoped that once everything was gone, that was all going to be all right again. And it is going to be all right again, but in the process of removing it all, that nerve has got really, really annoyed and really, really angry. So they did send me home with some gabapentin as well, which they don't normally do. From what I understand, that is specifically because I've got a nerve spasm. So, and that is take 2 of those in the evening and only if you need them. So I did take them on the Friday night and I did take them on the Saturday night, but I haven't taken them since, and it's Wednesday today. So that's good. As far as paracetamol and ibuprofen are concerned, you do take that for the first couple of days out of the gate, and you do take it when you come home. And once I'd come home, as I was saying, I was deliberately letting the pain relief go that little bit further, just so I could kind of hear what my body was telling me. I didn't want to keep medicating the pain relief so that I couldn't hear what my body was saying. It's really, really important that if something pinches or pulls, or that you stop, because the last thing you want to do is damage any of all that hard work that's gone on in there. One of the things about all the hard work that's gone on in there and I didn't think about it, I just assumed that I'd wake up and find that I had stitches that either needed to come out or stitches that were going to dissolve. No, it's glue, it's all glue, the whole lot. And it's odd, what can I tell you, it's odd. You wake up in the hospital bed and you've got one of that awful bloody gowns on, bum everywhere, it's just dreadful. And once you kind of are a bit more coherent after everything started to wear off and you've got 5 minutes by yourself, I kind of had a rummage around and you kind of look down and have a look, and there was no dressing. There was no dressing, no nothing. It's just visible. It's just there, this big shiny scar that's all held together with glue. And that's weird. What can I tell you? It's weird. And I think on the Friday just before I come out, the scar was a bit, I used the word weepy, which sounds a bit gross, doesn't it? But there was bits of the scar that were a bit wet, and the nurse was kind of like, it's just the iodine, however you want to say it. Don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. However, and I think this is different strokes for folks. So this is kind of on my list of what can I tell you, I suppose. So on the list of things that I can tell you, I woke up from surgery without any dressing on my scar. They wanted the air to get to it. That's fine. However, if you're the type of person who knows that kind of thing is going to bother you, or when you put like clothes on and it's going to rub and that's going to bother you, ask the nurses to send you home with a couple of dressings. They're like huge, great big long plasters, the Meepool ones, and they are very gentle and they stick all the way down and around. I think it was Monday, so Wednesday, what's that? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, use my fingers to count. That's day 5. I kind of finally got to the stage where I'm like, I can't get comfortable. I can't get comfortable in clothes. I can't get comfortable at all. Everything was kind of touching the scar, pulling it. And the moisture was making me nervous, because where I've got a section scar as well, I'm like, God, if it runs down and runs into that, am I going to end up, with a sore or with an infection, or just no. And when you get sent home with a lot of paperwork, and you can ring the ward up to the first week afterwards. But the wards are busy, they're mental busy. And if you can get through, I rang my local doctor's surgery because I knew how busy the ward was when I was on it. I nipped into the doctor's and saw my nurse, and she put a lovely dressing, a nice, neat, flat dressing over the top. And she's like, that'll make you feel more comfortable. And it did. Within the hour, I was able to move a lot more freely and sit a lot more comfortably. And I think psychosomatically in my mind, I just kind of built up moving, that everything was catching on it, and it was just kind of screwing with my brain. If that kind of thing bothers you, ask for a dressing. So that's number 1. Number 2, of what I can tell you, my scar runs from my belly button straight down, and it does go slightly through my caesarean scar and finishes just underneath. It is about 8 inches long. It's very neat, it's very straight. There is sort of quite a lot of bruising, but that's to be expected, right? So yeah, and it comes out not dressed. So if you want dressings, ask for them, and that's how long my scar was. So that's number 2. So I've got a little list that I'm working off of on the side. So number 3, the nurse put me on the little weigh-in chair before I came home, and I think I weighed myself about a week before the surgery. Now, and I do this because it's just one of those questions that you ask. When I went to the pre-op appointment, I said to the nurse, when they take all this out, am I going to be, am I going to be lighter? And she's like, no, not much, no. And you wonder, don't you? So obviously, with the way that my hysterectomies worked, I haven't been able to move a great deal on the 8 weeks running up to the surgery. So I had gained about a half stone anyway. and that is what it is. When I got on the scales in the hospital a few days later, I was easily over the stone on top of what I'm used to. However, I got on the scales, what's today? So day 7. So I got on the scales day 6 yesterday, and 4 pound of that had just dropped away. I got on the scales today and another 3 pound of that had dropped away. So that's half a stone kind of straight off. And that is, I'm going to make an assumption and say that is, swelling and water weight and anaesthetic and all those things. That I would say is a mix of all those things. So pain relief when you leave the hospital, this is another thing I can tell you. They send you home with, I'm just trying to think of all the things they sent me home with. They didn't send me, I was having paracetamol, ibuprofen and codeine in tablet form in the hospital. While you're in the hospital, they also give you lactulose to make it soft, and they also give you Senecot to try and make you go. However, the basic consensus of opinion from the nurses and the doctors is that bladder movement they want on day 1, and they want, once the catheter's out, they want it on day 1. After you do, go for wheeze. After you do that twice, they do the quick ultrasound and check to make sure that your bladder is properly getting rid of enough of everything that it needs to, that it's not leaving urine remaining. As far as the bowel movement is concerned, they would like that by day 4, day 5, but they don't make you stay in the hospital to do it, which they did do when you have a cesarean. That was the thing on the ward, is that no one could leave until you'd done that. So the bowel movement, wow people, what can I tell you? When you get given lactulose and Senecot, one of the things that you should know about how those drugs work is they work by drawing, can't even speak, they work by drawing fluid from the rest of the body. They're pulling it into the bowel to try and make sure what's got to come out is not hard and all the horror. So hydrate, people. Hydrate, drink a lot, and you will find that on the lactulose and the Senecot that you do feel quite dry. Any trouble with that kind of thing, you do need to let someone know. The last thing you want is impacted stools and just no. However, also don't get stressed about it, because that's an easy way to tense up and not be able to manage it. Worst case scenario, they're going to start with sort of glycerin suppositories after that, and believe me, that's going to get everything moving. So, but yeah, bowel movements, eat 3 healthy meals, definitely keep as much of your fluids up as you can, and it's frightening after surgery like that, the thought of doing that kind of thing, the strain, the damage. I know this is the too much information. This is the too much information vlog today. But don't be afraid. Drink lots, and if you get worried or you get stuck, phone your ward or phone your doctor's surgery, because it's got to get itself sorted, hasn't it? So let me check my list. Let me check my little list. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the bits and pieces I can tell you. You can get the scar wet. They say shower. Obviously, don't sit in a bath because it's glue. And don't rub it with soap or moisturiser or anything like that. And when the glue does start, mine hasn't started yet, but the nurse did say to me, when the glue does start to peel and things like that, leave it alone. You don't need to worry, I won't be touching it. But yeah, leave it alone, that kind of thing. And listen to your body. Take it easy, rest when you need to. But for the sake of the things that your body's got to do, back to the bowel and the bladder again, rest when you need to, but you can't just stay prone and flat. It can be really comforting to get yourself into a comfortable position and not want to move, because it is quite painful to try and get up, to try and turn over. You can kind of catch yourself, but you've got to get up. You've got to do you've got to do a little 5-minute, slipper shuffle around the kitchen. You've got to move your legs and to encourage your bowels and your bladder to work in a way that they've got to. So, and I think the last thing that was fun on the list of things that are fun is that we were sent home with injections. And I know loads of people administer injections to themselves and their loved ones all over the country, but we're lucky, I suppose. We've never had to. And I want to call them cephalexin injections. And I know that I'm saying that wrong, or I'm adding a vowel in there somewhere, I'm butchering it. It's an anticoagulant, and it's really important for deep vein thrombosis, and another reason you should move, and to keep yourself safe and well. They are the injections, you take them for 28 days and you administer them either in the morning or at night. You can do it yourself. I cannot do it myself. I could do it for my loved ones, I could stick them, but I can't stick myself. It's a bit bizarre. So Mike himself has stepped up to the plate and is sticking me with pins and needles, and they are they're individually, I should have bought one out and shown you, shouldn't I really? They're individually packed, little preloaded, you don't need to do anything. You take them out of the packet, break the end off, and you just kind of put it in and depress the plunger. And you do it in fatty tissue, so tops of your legs. They say you can do it in your stomach. I'm not sticking anything in my stomach, thank you. And yeah, we got through it. I mean, I think initially when I said it to him, you know, you're going to have to give me injections, he kind of got the wide-eyed look, but we managed, you know, because either that or, I mean, you've got to, I don't know, I'm assuming a district nurse might come out. I don't know if there's, I don't know if that's, I don't know, you'll have to find out. If you're, suppose if you're really, really bothered, maybe your local surgery would do it for you. I have no idea. But if that's something that you're going to be concerned about, ask up front, because there's always a plan B. There's always another way to get it done. What's more important is that you ask up front if you're going to have a problem with any part of it, because especially the injections for the anticoagulant, it's for your health and your well-being, and it's not okay to just bring them home and put them on top of the fridge and leave them there. You know, they give them to you for a reason and you need to administer them. So if you're going to have a problem doing that, then you need to find someone to stick you, or find out how to get help to do it. So I think that's my update for today. I'm doing okay. I actually felt like putting a bit of makeup on today. Just look at myself in the camera. Not much, obviously, but I felt like putting some on. And I got to go out for a drive yesterday. Not me. I got to go out as a passenger for 5-10 minutes, which was really nice and exciting. But otherwise, it's a case of sit on the couch and take nana naps and go for a little walk in your slippers. And if you fancy a little walk in the garden in your slippers, but you've got to take it easy and you've got to listen to your body and let it heal. So I hope this has been helpful. And if there is any questions, let me know below, or contact me privately through Facebook. All my links are on this channel. You can come find me, and I'll try and answer them for you. I mean, I've tried to keep it as upbeat and as positive as possible, because that's what's important when you go into anything like this. You've just got to focus on the positive and keep going. So everything's out. I'm less now. It's all gone off for biopsy, and that'll come when it comes, and I'll deal with that then. So it was lovely to speak to you all and give you my little update, and I hope you're all well. And yeah, I'll see you all later.